Take the bait. Take the bait. Take the bait. Take the bait. Take the bait.
It's game day. It's not no regular Wednesday.
Welcome to Take the Bait, a sports talk show where two sports guys, Ben Shoulders, Marcus Wilson, debate topics past and present that many of us talk about amongst friends, but now we have a platform in which we can do so together. Thank you for all your support so far. Our previous episode got over 110,000 views. Several of them are over 50,000 views. We couldn't do this without you, so please continue to like, comment, and share, and of course, watch like you have been doing. Again, thank you so much. First thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into college football. This kind of spurned off from a conversation we had last episode. A lot of you guys disagree with what I was saying about the SEC. So we're just going to finish this debate once and for all. Which is the better conference in college football, Big Ten or the SEC? Ben, I think I'm going to go ahead and start this one off and just start off with a little bit of facts and data before I come to my conclusion. You know, I don't want to discuss too much before the 22-23 season because that was before NIL. I know NIL came around in 2021, but people really started getting paid around then. Before that, you know, who knows? The people who were cheating the most clearly had the advantage. So we're not really going to discuss that. Now that there's a level playing field of where people can get paid, we'll discuss that. I think like right now we can look at the top two teams in the country are clearly Ohio State and Indiana, two Big Ten teams. There's another team in the top six, Oregon, who's obviously very good. And so, you know, it's disputable. But I think up at the top two teams are Big Ten teams. You go back to last year, like I mentioned in the last episode, the Big Ten was 5-1 against the SEC in bowl games, and 2 out of the final 4 were Big Ten teams. Previously, same thing happened. Michigan beat Alabama. Washington, which is now a Big Ten team, beat Texas. They met in the national championship game. So the national championship game has been dominated by the Big Ten the last couple of years. Overall bowl record last year, the Big Ten was 11-6. SEC was 8-7, right? Currently, right now, there are 6 Big Ten teams ranked, 8 SEC teams ranked. In conclusion, with all those numbers and data, I'll say I do think that the SEC is deeper. I think the Big Ten is top heavy. I think the Big Ten's top teams are better than the SEC top teams they were the last couple years, as we've seen in the national championship game. And I think it's the same thing this year. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes are the best team in the country. And I think it's disputable, but I think the Indiana Hoosiers are the second best team in the country, better than any team in the SEC. So with that said, I'm going to just land somewhere in the middle that the Big Ten is top heavy. Their top teams are better. The SEC is deeper. I think the bottom half of the SEC, if they played the bottom half of the Big Ten, they'd probably get the better of them. The upper half is a toss-up, but I would probably go with the Big Ten. My only problem with this debate is the SEC fans always move the goalposts. Years ago, when it was Alabama and LSU and they were dominating things and the Big Ten would win some of the other bowl games, it was like, all we care about is championships. Look who won the national championship. Now that's happening to the Big Ten. And then we say, look at what's happening in terms of the record. And the SEC fans say, well, it doesn't matter. All of our best players are not playing in the bowls and they're preparing for the NFL draft. Which one is it? Which one is it? Because when y'all were winning the bowl games, you weren't saying that. Now you're losing it and you're saying that. Quit moving the goalposts is all I'm saying. I think the SEC is deeper. I think the Big Ten is better up top. I think the Big Ten might get their 3rd consecutive national championship this year.
You know, Marcus, that was a great summary, and he provided some great points. I agree. I think the SEC right now, just looking at this season, is deeper. The Big Ten is more top-heavy. There's still a lot of football left to be played. You know, this weekend and next weekend, I'm going to be looking at a handful of games. There's several games to watch, but there are 4, 2 from each conference I'm really going to be looking at. Texas A&M at Texas. Remember, Texas was preseason number 1 in the nation, and they've clawed themselves back to being a top 10 team. So Texas A&M at Texas, and then Vandy at Tennessee. Those 2 games in the SEC I'm going to watch hard. And then in the Big Ten, you got USC at Oregon, and then the big one, Ohio State at Michigan on Saturday, November 29th. Michigan has their number, winning 4 of the last 5, and we'll see what happens. The other point I want to make is, let's not forget, Penn State was preseason number 2 in the country and was top 5 all the way until week 5. Illinois was ranked number 9 all the way up until week 5 as well. Both self-employed, unfortunately. Illinois tried to claw back, and now they're teetering on being ranked. But if you add those two teams and they would have lived up to expectations, I think it would be dead even. I think SEC and Big Ten would be dead even. So let's not forget that. But on December 7th, the final CFP ranking, we will have a special show and talk solely about the CFP ranking. So at that point, Marcus, that's when I'll be able to determine, as you will as well, which conference is better this season.
I completely agree with your points about Illinois and Penn State. I know people say woulda, coulda, shoulda. Texas started off preseason #1. They're back in the top 10. Woulda, coulda, shouldas. But had they lived up to expectations, I think it would be dead even. Moving on to our second segment, going to the NBA. Who do you think is the best team in the NBA right now? Ben, how about you lead us off?
Yeah, there's some great teams. I know we're early in the season, a lot of basketball left to be played. But in the East, you got the Pistons, the Knicks, and the Cavs. In the West, you got the Thunder, Spurs, and Rockets. But my best team right now is the Denver Nuggets. As of today, they've only lost 3 games. They're second in the West. They lost an early season game to the T-Wolves. Then they lost a 6-point overtime loss to the Golden State Warriors. It was a shootout. Curry had 42. He was unconscious. And then more recently, they lost to the Bulls by 3 at home. The Bulls hit 19 threes. However, the Nuggets are first in NBA right now at points per game with just over 124 points. They are second in NBA in point differential with 12 points per game. And they're the first team in NBA history to score over 120 points per game or more and shoot 50% or more from field goal range in the first 4 games of the season. So if their big 3 in Jokic, Gordon, and Murray can stay healthy, and by the way, I don't know if you've been watching, Marcus, what Jokic is doing. He's averaging 29 points per game. He leads the NBA in rebounds per game at 13 and leads the NBA in assists per game with 11. So if he can keep that up, along with their big 3 stays healthy, I think it's a repeat of 2023, and I think the Nuggets win it all this season.
Ben, I think you make some really good points there about the Nuggets. And I do think that they are the second best team in the NBA. However, when that background switches, it lets you know I'm about to disagree. I think I'm going with the obvious choice, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have the best record in the NBA right now. They have the reigning league MVP, and they're the defending champions. So how can I not go with them right now? They look really good. They annihilated the Lakers in a big-time matchup, and I just think that they have the best team chemistry right now. Now, the Nuggets do have championship pedigree, that's another point I want to talk about. I do think when you look at the West and the East, the West is clearly better. Sometimes they say the West is deeper, but the top team in the East is better. Just like we talked about with the Big Ten and SEC, there's none of that in the NBA right now. The West is clearly better at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom. And when you look at the teams with championship pedigree, it all lies in the West. Obviously, the Thunder, they have it from winning last year. You got the Nuggets, they have it from when their championships were there. You got the Golden State Warriors, even though I don't think they're a championship caliber team anymore, they do have guys who have competed for a championship. They're sitting at 7th. When you look over in the East, you got the Milwaukee Bucks, who they're a shell of what they used to be when they won it. They're sitting at 9th. You got the Celtics, who wouldn't even be in the playoffs right now if it started today. They're at 11th. The Pacers, who are sitting there at last overall in the East. And, you might say, well, Toronto won it a few years ago. There's almost no one from that team even still on that roster. So there's nobody in the East that I think is even ready to challenge the West for the championship. I think when we watch the Western Conference Finals, that will be the real championship. And I think, like you said, it will be the Nuggets and the Thunder. On to our third topic today, a segment that we love. It's called Rapid Fire. Ben, we're going to go back to the NFL right now. Who do you think are the top 5 running backs in NFL history? Go.
Well, Marcus, there's been some great running backs, as you know, in NFL history. So I have 2 honorable mentions before we get to the top 5. My first honorable mention is Mr. Eric Dickerson. He played 11 seasons in the NFL. He still has the most rushing yards in a season with 2,105. He set that in 1984. He was a 5-time first-team All-Pro player and a 6-time Pro Bowler. My other honorable mention, Adrian Peterson, who played 15 seasons in the NFL. He still has the most rushing yards in a game with 296. He was a 4-time first-team All-Pro player and 7-time Pro Bowler. But my number 5, starting it off, is LaDainian Tomlinson. He played 11 seasons in the NFL, 9 with the Chargers and 2 with the Jets. He's one of the greatest in the backfield receiving running backs of all time, but he was a touchdown machine, Marcus. Most touchdowns, total touchdowns with 31 in a season, most rushing touchdowns in a season with 28. He was a 2006 MVP, most consecutive games with at least one touchdown with 18. He's second in career rushing touchdowns, and he's 7th in career rushing yards. He's one of the greatest all-around running backs of all time, and he is my number 5. Number 4, creating our Mount Rushmore, Mr. Jim Brown. He only played 9 seasons, but he is still the only player to average over 100 rushing yards per game for a career with an average of 104.3 yards per game. Other records include leading the league in rushing 8 times out of 9 and having 6 games with at least 4 rushing touchdowns. He's one of the greatest athletes in all of sports, and he is my number 4. Number 3, Mr. Emmitt Smith, the Iron Man of NFL running backs. He played 15 seasons in the NFL. He's the all-time NFL leading rusher with 18,355 yards and NFL career leader in rushing touchdowns with 164. He's the only player to have 11 consecutive seasons with over 1,000 yards. And he's the only player ever to have a Super Bowl MVP, an NFL MVP, a rushing title, and a Super Bowl ring in the same season. He won 3 Super Bowl titles with the Cowboys, and Emmitt Smith is my number 3. Now we got the top 2, Marcus. Number 2, they called him Sweetness, Mr. Walter Payton. He played 13 seasons in the NFL. Several of his records he set have now been broken. But when he retired, he had the most career rushing yards ever with 16,726. Now he is second to Emmitt Smith. He has the most career combined yards from scrimmage when he retired, 21,803. Most seasons with 1,000-plus rushing yards with 10. Most games with 100-plus rushing yards with 77. Most rushing TDs in a career with 110. Most single-game rushing yards with 275. And he won a Super Bowl with the Bears in 1986. Walter Payton is my number 2 all-time NFL running back. At number 1, we go with Mr. Barry Sanders. He only played 10 seasons. He was MVP in 1997, 6-time first-team All-Pro player and 4-time second-team, which means he made the Pro Bowl or made the All-Pro 10 times, and he was a 10-time Pro Bowler. So every year he played, he was either All-Pro or Pro Bowl. 4-time NFL rushing leader, 4th ever in career rushing yards with 15,269 yards in 10 seasons. He averaged 5.0 yards per carry for a career, which is unheard of. He averaged 99.8 yards per game for a career, second only to Jim Brown. And get this, he averaged 1,527 rushing yards per season. His quickness, agility, starts and stops, lateral movements, and raw speed were on another level. Therefore, Barry Sanders is my number 1 all-time NFL running back. There it is, Marcus, my top 5 and 2 honorable mentions.
I can't really dispute any of that. I do think that Barry Sanders is the greatest. Some of you young guys who didn't get a chance to watch him, his lateral speed and his quickness was unheard of. He would still be dominant in today's game. I think Emmitt Smith being at 3 is fair, even though he's the all-time leading rusher. I think it is kind of like the Karl Malone of the NBA. I mean, like Karl Malone he's up there in points, but I think there's other people who were better. You're right, like Sweetness, like Barry Sanders. And when Jim Brown is 4th on your list, just shows how great some of these running backs were. So that's an awesome top 5. We'll have to do more positional rankings like that moving forward. And our last topic, going back to college basketball, that is. This is a star-loaded freshman class, and it's been a great season to watch and watching all this talent and future lottery picks and probably future all-stars in the NBA. But right now, in college basketball, who do you think is the best freshman in college basketball? Let me hear what you got to say, Ben.
There are so many phenomenal freshmen this season, Marcus. We talked about this in the last episode. The depth and the talent of this freshman class might be the greatest ever. Maybe a little premature to say that, but it's the deepest I've seen in quite a while. That being said, I'm going with Mr. Caleb Wilson. Through 4 games, just the first 4 games, he's averaging 20 points per game, 9.5 rebounds per game, 3 assists. He's shooting 67% from the field, 50% from three. They're undefeated at 4-0, and they're ranked 18th. As a side note, they lost their upperclassman Seth Trimble, starter from last year, but he should be back soon, so they should be getting even better. But right now, to me, the most impressive freshman all around has been Caleb Wilson.
Hard to debate that, especially after seeing what he did to Kansas. That was a high-level game, and I think that he is definitely one of the best. I don't think he's the best right now, though. Another freshman who had a very high-level game against high-level competition was Koa Pete when he dropped 30 in the opener against Florida. Very, very impressive. Mikael Brown at Louisville has been putting up great numbers, around 19 points, 7 assists. I think he's the best. Well, it's hard to say he's the best point guard because you got another guy out there named Darren Peterson who's really, really good. Probably end up being a top 3 draft pick. You got other guys like Townde Yusufu at Baylor. They always seem to have a freshman that goes in the first round or who's a lottery pick. He's playing very well, averaging about 16 points a game. AJ Debbansa, who probably is going to be the number 1 draft pick. But the top 2, I'm going to give you 2. Number 2, I got Nate Ament over at Tennessee, averaging 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He's a do-it-all type of player, very versatile. Is definitely an NBA caliber player who should have a great career in the NBA. But my number 1 and my best freshman right now is Mr. Boozer, Cameron Boozer with the Duke Blue Devils. He's just been outstanding. He showed us what he was going to do in the preseason when he gave Tennessee big numbers. And now he's averaging 22.5 points a game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 37% from 3. The kid, I want to say the man is built like an NBA player already. I think that's what gives him the advantages right now because a lot of times freshmen have to get adjusted to the physicality, not him. He's strong. He can play inside, outside, shoots the 3 ball well, super high basketball IQ. If you watch him play, he knows what's going out there. You can tell that he comes from a basketball family, and he is my number 1 freshman in the country right now. With that said, when you think about all of them, Nate Ament, he's in the SEC. You got Boozer, Mikael Brown, Caleb Wilson in the ACC. You got about 5 in Koa Pete, Chris Sinak, Townde Yusufu, AJ Debbansa, and Darren Peterson, all in the Big 12. Don't know why these guys aren't going to the Big 10. I think because Big 10 is known to be extremely physical. It's already hard enough for freshmen to get adjusted to the physicality of college basketball, and Big 10 might be the most physical league right there. So out of all these freshmen, none are being represented from the Big 10. I've always thought the Big 10 need to adjust their refereeing policies during the regular season because oftentimes they get to the NCAA tournament and they can't play the style of play they've become accustomed to with all the physicality. And I think that it's hurt them in the tournament and it's hurting them in recruiting right now. That does it for another great episode of Take the Bait. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we never thought we would be here, getting over 500,000 or over 600,000 views in 5 episodes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, bro. No, thank you, bro.
Thank you for watching. Please continue to like, follow, share. Ben, do you have anything you want to end us up with?
Thank you for tuning in to Take the Bait. We want to hear from you.
Wow.
Take the bait. Take the bait.
Get off your phone and get in the zone. Put down the sticks, leave the studio alone. I got my squad with me and we ready. If you got your squad with you, get ready. Take the bait.
Take the bait.
Take the bait.